Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Our program will be starting in about 1 to 2 minutes. Anyone who wants to join us on stage, you're more than welcome. Look at everybody run to the stage. That's ridiculous.
I'll join you, Patty.
Thank you, Dave. All right, guys, let's come up.
You want me to start now?
Sorry.
Got it.
He's on his way. So by the time.
So each speaker will introduce the next speaker. Joseph Fleming is en route. Just skip over him if he's not here.
All right, we ready? Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Sierra Dent. I am the mayor of Stilton Borough. I am glad to be here. I wish it was under different circumstances, but I'm glad to be here with our partners and with everyone who has joined us to be here for this occasion today. I want to thank you all for being here, not to just attend a press conference, but to take a stand, to stand in the gap for the heart of our town, to stand in the legacy of our families, and to stand in hope for our future. Stilton has always been more than just a name. It's been a story built by the hands of steelworkers, strengthened by generations of perseverance, and held together by a community that refuses to quit. The steel mill has been our anchor for our economy, for our families, and for our identity. On June 4th, 2024, we stood here on these Stilton grounds with Cleveland Cliffs and welcomed former Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg and Governor Josh Shapiro to tour our mill. That day, we stood shoulder to shoulder, workers, officials, residents, believing in the promise of this place. We left that day with hope, hope that our labor mattered, that our town had a future, that our voices were being heard. But today, we find ourselves not celebrating that future, but instead we're fighting for it. The mill that built Stilton is idling, and with it, uncertainty has settled in the hearts of our people. Families are wondering how they'll make it. Workers are questioning their worth, and the town is asking whether its legacy still matters. Let me be very clear about that. It still does matter. The same steel that forged this town runs through our veins. We are not just fighting for jobs, we're fighting for dignity, for identity, and for the soul of this borough that has given this country so much. And in this fight, we are not alone. We are grateful for the leaders who have shown up time and time again. Those who don't just send statements from afar, but who come, who see us, and who stand with us. It is now my honor to introduce one of those leaders, a true advocate for working families, a consistent voice for justice, and a dear friend of Stilton. I introduce to you Senator Patty Kell.
Thank you so much, Mayor Dent. We appreciate your dedication, we appreciate your leadership, and we are a team, and we'll continue to support you and our neighbors in Steelton. This is a difficult day for the borough, as more than 500 workers are without employment today. Since the abrupt announcement in May, which caught workers and frankly all of us by surprise, we've had an all-hands-deck approach to this crisis. Standing with me are the legislative leaders that jumped in to help. Representative Dave Madsen, Rep. Nate Davidson, Rep. Justin Fleming, Senator Greg Rothman, and Representative Tom Mehaffie. Thank you for this bipartisan effort to save family-sustaining jobs. Here's a quick timeline of what has happened. On May 2nd, as all of you know, USW Local 1688 announced Cleveland Cliffs will idle today, June 30th. Delegation members immediately began outreach to Cleveland Cliffs, the Governor's Office, the Department of Community and Economic Development, the Department of Environmental Protection, and USW. On May 6th, the Governor's senior legislative staff spoke with Cleveland Cliffs, indicating that Cliffs was not interested in any state support. Within 2 weeks, we elevated the issue to the federal level. May 14th, we met here. I want to thank the representatives from U.S. Senators Fetterman and McCormick's office for engaging with the Dauphin County delegation and USW Local 1688. May 19th, Senator Rothman and Representatives Madsen, Fleming, Mehaffie, and Kerwin sent a letter to the senators, McCormick and Fetterman, and Representative Perry, asking them to sit down with us, USW leadership, and Cliffs management to talk through solutions. With our persistent and mounting pressure, as well as our group calls that happened 3 times a week in the last 2 weeks, we have had some progress. Federal officials are reaching out to Cliffs. DCD Secretary had a positive conversation with Cleveland Cliffs. The Governor's Office reached out to Cliffs. Federal and state offices looking at areas of oversight to ensure Cliffs are proper stewards of site and its decisions to not violate the public trust. We continue to urge Cleveland Cliffs to be a responsible corporate partner to Steelton by coming to the table and minimizing the negative impacts its decisions on Steelton workers and neighboring businesses. We are not done. We will continue to push for Steelton and support the workers and exhaust every resource and avenue to keep the site operating. Local 1688 has a plan, right, LaRue? You have a plan to run the mill profitably. We call on Cleveland Cliffs and our government partners to come to the table and consider the plan. As of now, the mill is indefinitely idling. As long as it is, we will continue to work to keep the steel in Steelton. You have our commitment and continued fight. And with that, I'd like to bring up a dog-on-bone representative who's been working on this since day one, Representative Dave Madsen.
Well, good morning. State Representative Dave Madsen. I have the privilege of representing the 104th Legislative District. And typically when I see this hall filled with visitors, it's usually a good thing. We're celebrating something that's uplifting for the community. Unfortunately today, that we're not under those circumstances. We are here to say we have not given up. We are going to continue to fight and to keep the steel in Steelton. I grew up in Middletown, Pennsylvania, just around the way. When my family moved here in 1992, the first thing I took in as a little kid when I was 6 was Dauphin County and this region built things. My mom worked at Milton Hershey School, so when we drove around, you could smell the chocolate being made by the chocolate workers. When I was little, when I saw TMI making steam, I thought that that was where clouds were made. I thought it was a cloud factory. And then when we drove down Cameron Street, we saw the mill, and that's where steel came from. And so my entire life, I've been growing up and surrounded by worker bees. People in this community in Steelton and the surrounding area build things. They make the American economy happen. And when you study the history of this mill, 5 generations have been pouring steel, some of the first steel poured in the United States that built the rail system, that built the highway system, that built the modern American economy happened here. And it will continue to happen here as long as I have a say. And I know my brothers and sisters in the union steelworkers movement will continue to fight that and continue to make sure that we are building steel in this community for future generations. It's unsettling times. I know there's a lot of uncertainty out there. That is why our teams have come together in a bipartisan fashion. We are offering as much state support as we can for the workers to make sure that while they're dealing with state resources, they get all the help that they need. We're hopeful that we can limit the idling for as little as possible. So as Senator Kim mentioned, there's still some conversations that we're having with Cliffs. We have not given up. They have been positive as of late, so we'll take that. We know that this mill historically has not gotten the right of investments that it should. We hope that either Cliffs or if it's somebody else comes in and really invests in these workers, in this facility, to modernize it, to do what it can do, make some of the best rail or whatever it needs to make in the country and in the world. So I know this is a resilient community. It's been knocked down before and it will get right back up. It's just who we are as a people, and we will continue to fight. And I just want to say I'm just so proud of this community and its resilience and the camaraderie I've seen. Every time I've talked to a steelworker that's been laid off, it hasn't been a lot of feeling down on themselves. They are optimistic, they are hopeful, and they're coming together, and we are as a community around them. So we will get this done and continue to keep the steel in Steelton. With that, I would like to put it to my Senate colleague, Senator Greg Rothman.
Thank you all, and special thanks to Senator Patty Kim for her great work on this. Today's just the beginning. I know it's a bad day and a sad day for you, but it's the beginning of the comeback. Just less than 2 weeks ago, I was in Pittsburgh with President Trump at U.S. Steel, and when the Nippon U.S. Steel investment was announced. I was in a large room, maybe in the mill, with a few thousand steel workers who were celebrating a monumental, one of the largest investments in the history of this country, $14 billion invested by Nippon Steel. A deal that would keep the governance of U.S. Steel in America, would keep the steel being made in America, a $5,000 bonus for steel worker, and a 50% tariff on foreign steel. America needs to be making steel. We need to be making steel in America and specifically in Steelton. And that's the message I want to send to Cleveland Cliffs today, that we need to be making steel right here in Steelton. You need to be making steel. We need it for our national defense. We need it to build America like we did. A week after I was in Pittsburgh for the U.S. Steel announcement, I went on a tour of Aliquippa. Unlike the 4 miles here, there are 7 miles in Aliquippa of former steel mills, and they're all gone. They're all torn down. But I looked at old photographs of the 7.5 miles of steel mills, and I had 2 thoughts that day as I left there after driving around for 4 hours. Number one, this is why we won 2 world wars. The steel that was made in Pennsylvania is how we built this country. This is why America won 2 world wars. And the second thought I had was, how in God's name do we let this happen? That we would stop making steel in America, that we would stop. We have in Pennsylvania, and we have specifically in Steelton, the greatest labor force. We have the natural resources. We have cheap, clean natural gas and energy. And we need to bring back steel to America. So we have reached out. We have a bipartisan group. We have a great local group. We will do everything we can. And as I said, today is not the last day. Today is the first day. So thank you, and God bless Steelton. I'd like to introduce local USW 1688 President LaRue Hess.
For those that don't know, I don't do public speaking. It's not my thing. This is personal. I know everyone out there has done their best to meet what they needed to do to keep this mill running. I know it's in your hearts to keep it going, and we are going to try our best to make sure that happens. As we address this moment in Stilton's history, the idling of the mill after 160 years of continuous operation is with great sadness that we mark the end of this chapter. For over a century and a half, the mill has been more than a place to work. It has been the backbone of the community, shaping not only the steel, but the people, the houses, and the spirit of Stilton itself. Yet, in our moment of loss, we look forward, because if there's one thing this community knows, it knows how to adapt and rise. Stilton has always met adversity with grit and resolve. The mill has forged more than metal. It has forged character, and it is that same strength and resilience that fuels our vision for the future. The truth is, the United States needs what Stilton can deliver. The mill is already, right now, a producer of the kind of high-quality, stable steel that the future demands. Our electric arc furnaces produce the green steel that others are still striving for. Our vacuum and stream degassing procedures make some of the purest steel available, and with the potential to eliminate 3 gas-fired reheat furnaces, we are prepared to cut our carbon footprint dramatically. We can boost efficiency 33% and gain in quality and environmental responsibility are not only measurable, but they are meaningful. All we need is someone to come to the table. Stilton is ready. Your presence here today shines a spotlight on this possibility. Stilton shall be the future of American-made, environmentally responsible steel, green steel. Thank you for standing with us. Mr. Dave Myers, who is a 5th-generation steelworker here in Stilton, is next.
Well, LaRue stole my opening line about not being a public speaker, so I'll have to try and pretend I know what I'm doing here. First and foremost, thank you to everything that LaRue's been doing and our elected officials here behind me. And since LaRue was kind enough to speak about the mill's operations, I want to talk about a little something else we have at Stilton. And that's legacy. And since he was kind enough to say who I am, I will say what I am. And that is a multi-generational steelworker and part of a legacy that goes back over 100 years, all the way back to my great-great-grandfather, Miko Verbos, who was killed in the plant over 100 years ago, up to my mother, who started here in 1996 until she passed away in 2013. She worked in our fire department here in Stilton before going into the mill, and I couldn't be prouder to say that. I started here in 2006 and was lucky enough to serve 7 years beside her. And when I started here out of high school, I had no direction, no plan, nothing. And at my mother's urging, she said, hey, come to the steel mill. So pretty much what started as a suggestion became a calling. I passed through those gates just after turning 19, and now at 38, I've literally spent half my life going over those tracks and through those gates. This mill didn't just give me a paycheck, it gave me purpose, it gave me pride, and it gave me a way to make my family proud. Growing up here in Stilton on Locust Street, I heard those whistles every morning walking to school. I heard the trains hitting and steel making pouring before I even knew what any of those sounds were. At every holiday and every family gathering, The mill was always a part of the conversation to the point where it felt like a member of the family. And that's why this moment is so painful. It doesn't feel like losing a job. It feels like losing part of the family. And because for me and for many of us, the grief that we're feeling, the anger that we're feeling is real and justified. But let me just say this and let me be clear. We are not done. After 150 years, we did not come this far just to get this far. The men and women who built this mill and this town are still here. We are ready and we stand prepared, as we always have, to fire the furnaces, to roll the steel, and to carry our legacy forward. Steelton has helped build this country. It has forged rails, it forged strength, and through that forged an identity between the town and the mill. And ours is a legacy that has been forged in fire and fury, and it will endure long after we're gone. But believe me, this is not the end for us. Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce the president and CEO of Credic. Sure. Make sure I'm sounding that. Credic, and the Harrisburg Regional Chamber, Ryan Unger.
Just take a moment here and look behind me, look on the stage. You've heard from Republicans, you've heard from Democrats. You have the steelworkers introducing the Chamber of Commerce, and it shows you how much this plant means to us in this community and how hard all of us fight for the jobs that are here and that we're confident we can keep here as well. Our heritage with the site goes back to early 2000s when Bethlehem Steel, again, many of us remember, chose to leave the site. The community rallied. We found a buyer. Credic played a role in redeveloping pieces of that site and also transferred those at the time to Durabond. And we bring that same focus again today. We stand ready to help this site. We are a fast-growing region here in the capital region. We have limited industrial occupancy, and we have limited sites like we've got here. We've got rail, we've got power, and I think most importantly, as you see in this room, we've got a skilled, talented, and committed workforce that can make that a job-producing site again. The legislature and Governor Shapiro have invested money in site infrastructure for us to use. We stand ready to help this site, help the workers, help whatever corporate partner wants to come to the table to make that happen. I've had the opportunity over the 20 years to do economic development all over this Commonwealth. And often communities, when these announcements happen, kind of hang their head and immediately transition to a new site, a new way of using that infrastructure. And I don't see that here today. I don't see this community taking it. And again, I've only lived here 14 years, but I know something about Steelton. And as you've heard so far on this stage, when we get knocked down, we get right back up and we stand ready to help. I know we've had incredible legislative leadership from the state, local, and federal levels, and I'm confident we can keep steel in Steelton. Thank you. Now, it gives me great honor to introduce Representative Justin Fleming of the 105th House District. Representative.
Morning, everybody. I have to say, this job has been very interesting, full of challenges, and full of great opportunities as well. But I want to go back about 4 weeks, 5 weeks, sitting in this hall with LaRue and others talking about the circumstance of Cleveland Cliffs closing. When I was with the Rendell administration, I worked for the Department of Labor and Industry, and we did something called warn notices, which there was a big employer, they would have to, announce it publicly, and then Labor and Industry would come in and tell, the workers who were going to be displaced what options were available to them through the PA Career Link, through, options with other state agencies. And so, one of our most well-known politicians, President Reagan, once said, some of the most dangerous words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. But that was dead-ass wrong. And you see it today. We are here and we're here to help. And in that spirit, We are going to, beginning tomorrow, myself, along with Representative Madsen's office, Representative Davidson's office, Representative Mehaffie, and Senator Kim's office, we're going to help workers who are in this unfortunate circumstance due to the actions of Cleveland Cliffs. We are going to try and provide you with resources, help facilitate unemployment insurance claims if that's what you need, and just try to be a bridge for you in this difficult time. You know, Dave talked about his childhood. I'm reminded of my childhood as well, seeing you all go through this. My dad was a truck driver, blue-collar guy, and you know, Dave thought TMI made clouds. Well, he told me one time that he was fired, and I started crying uncontrollably because I thought his boss was actually going to light him on fire. And it's kind of a weird feeling, but when you're a kid, you don't know any better. But you know, it just meant he lost his job, and you know, he had to go and find something new. We are here to stand with you every step of the way. And just one last comment, you know, to Senator Rothman's point about how did we get here. We got here because politicians of both stripes have allowed it to happen. We've gotten here because of free trade agreements that have not benefited American workers. We've gotten here because our federal policy and our state policies have made it easier to just ship jobs out and hollow out towns like Steelton. And I say it ends today. Cleveland Cliffs, do the right thing, do right by these workers, and let's not have this happen again. Let's learn our lesson at a certain point. At a certain point, we can't just keep doing the same things and expecting a different result. Let's pass policies that incentivize building things here in the United States of America, and specifically building things here in Steelton. Thank you very much. Now it gives me a great pleasure to introduce my friend, great Dauphin County Representative Tom Mehaffie.
Good morning. And the only thing I can say is I'm sorry. I'm sorry this is happening to you and your family. This should never happen. This should never go on, and no one should ever lose their job because they were told you're going to lose your job. The thing that I worry about the most is your families and those that have, and this comes to a generational thing, as Dave said earlier. You guys went to Cliffs to better your life for you and your family. And now Cliffs let you down. That's exactly what happened. And this is deja vu. 5 years ago, I sat in front of 3 Mile Island and had to tell the workers there the same exact thing. At that time, I did not represent the district. But what I did represent is you, the worker. For 5 years, I fought to reopen TMI. And because of the grace of God and some luck and some partnerships, we now are opening the Crane Clean Energy Center. 1 week ago, Senator Kim and I had the opportunity to formally announce this. Formally announced that we are hiring back 3,000 workers to the area. It's pretty incredible. But that doesn't happen not because of my drive or Senator Kim's drive or anybody here who's an elected official. That happened because of the drive of the people that wanted to go back and work there. That's what we need from you. Our partnership with you, we can get this done. This is not impossible. This is something that can happen, and this is a low point today, which I felt myself in my heart the same way 5 years ago. But the smiles that went on my face on last week when they formally announced the partnership and the reopening and the hiring is a great day. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't have happened. And you're right, Representative Fleming's right. Government left you down. That is exactly what happened. So now we need to make it right. We are going to work our tails off to make sure that you guys are afforded the opportunities to keep a great living wage and help your families succeed in the future. We are here for you. We want to work with you, and we are do whatever we can to make this a reality again. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Representative Nate Davidson from the 103rd District.
They told me I had 20 minutes. I'll try and keep it to 2. I think some of us have been trying to keep our passions on the inside as we've been up here. This has been hitting all of us pretty hard. I had a high school classmate who worked at the plant, and as of tomorrow, will be entering a new chapter in his life for his family. But the people who work at the plant, the people in this room, you're not just workers or employees, you are our community, the backbone of our community. Coaches, coach our little leagues, volunteer firefighters. Where'd you go? Like your mom? Where'd you go? These are the people who show up to community events and take out of their pocket to help the family in need down the street. And when I heard that a boardroom in Ohio decided that they were done extracting the wealth from one community and they were moving on, I got mad. Senator Kim recounted what we've done, and the other representatives up here, truly, in a bipartisan fashion, where we don't see each other as competitors in a region. We are unified in central Pennsylvania. Whether it's the state delegation, the federal delegation, we have been relentless to get this right. And we won't stop, as you've heard. We won't stop because Steelton is a resilient place. Because we know in central Pennsylvania the dignity of work and what it means to wake up in the morning and do something with your head or your hands that provides for yourself and your family, your loved ones, your community. We know that we will be resilient. We know that hopefully in less than 5 years, we'll have a day like they had just down the river at TMI. And we know that as we look to the future, there will be another partner who will sit at the table, unlike Cleveland Cliffs. There will be another partner who comes and wants to invest in our community, in the people who make this place great. If you're one of those companies that wants to come in and extract more wealth from us, I can only speak for myself, but I'm not interested in that. You can keep your boardroom at home in Ohio or wherever. But if you are one of those businesses who believes in a community and what makes a community strong, we are open for you. We welcome you into our community. We want you to be here with us. And together, we're going to keep rolling that steel. Together, we're going to keep building the economy of Pennsylvania and America right here in central Pennsylvania. And that only happens together with groups like this in bipartisan fashions that put everything to the side for the people that make this place great. So with that, solidarity now, solidarity forever. And I would like to invite yet another steelworker, Sean Peisel? Peisel.
Yep.
More than 15 years experience in the mill. Sean.
All right. I'm sure I'm going to forget some people because there's been so much help from our local and state officials. I mean, I could never remember everybody's name, plus I'm new at this. So I'm going to give you a little perspective on what it was like to be raised in this town and by this mill. Hello, everyone. I'm Sean Peisel. I'm a 1996 Steel High graduate and vice president of USW 1688. I was hired in 2007, and I have worked in steelmaking for almost 18 years. I'm the first helper at 207 furnace on the steelmaking floor. Now, what does that mean? I operate our arc furnace that takes many forms of metal you see and use every day, and with the power of electricity, a lot of electricity, we recycle that into 290,000 pounds of liquid metal every hour giving old scrap metal a new life. I'm sure it's hard to picture a massive operation like ours, unless you have seen it in some way, shape, or form before. My job, like many other jobs, are mysteries to people who have not been on the plant. It was a job I got to see on a Bethlehem Steel family tour when I was a kid. I didn't know anything about it, besides it was loud, extremely loud, and dirty. I loved it, and was equal parts fascinated and enamored by it immediately. I mentioned the Bethlehem Steel family tour because my grandfather and my father worked and retired from the Steelton plant. My grandfather, Harold Swartley, graduated from the Steelton High School. That's before the Highspire merger, when the high school was still on South 4th Street. Excuse me. He started in the coke ovens in 1936. The coke ovens were where they baked impurities and volatiles out of the coal to make it pure carbon fuel for Steelton's blast furnaces. He was excused from the mill and entered the U.S. Navy during World War II, where he was involved in the Battle of Okinawa in 1945 and returned to work later that year. When the liquid iron and open hearth method was replaced by arc furnaces in the 60s, he transferred to the Frog and Switch, where he retired in 1979 with 43 years service. My father, Sam Peisel, graduated from Steel High in '71. He immediately went into the mill. He was hired into the rail mill and cut the top of his finger off on his first day. After a short career in the rail mill, he then went into the fire department. He retired in 2019, just shy of 48 years of service. Our lives, holidays, birthdays, and vacations revolved around the mill and the borough of Steelton, where my dad was also a volunteer firefighter and EMT for over 25 years. We never minded because the mill provided us food, clothes, and the home I was raised in. And the borough was just that, our home. I learned hard work and its values from seeing the hours my father worked to support a family. I also learned, no matter what we looked like, us Steelton kids were all the same. From playing in the streets, to the basketball courts, to putting on my blue and gray on Cottage Hill Saturdays. That's right, I'm that old that I played on Saturdays. But those are the experiences that taught me teamwork. The mill has always been, and still is deeply rooted, in who I am, where I'm from, and where I'm going. The Steelton plant made a life for my grandparents, my parents, my sister, countless cousins, friends' families, and now my family as an adult. Nothing is given. I come out and I earn it every day. 6, 7 days a week, sometimes 60, 70, 80 hours a week. Sometimes in the freezing cold, other times in heat that's hard for me to describe. The mill going away takes from all of us in this room, directly from employees and their families, and indirectly from a delicate community financially, leading to the loss of more social services and burdening local, county, state, and federal elected officials who must find a way to replace these crucial services. It's here today that I wonder aloud, why not us? Why not? Why not here in Steelton? Why not here in Pennsylvania? This is the time. There's no better time than now. I know I have the support of Mayor Dent and the Borough of Steelton. I know I have the support of Representative Dave Mattson. I know we have the support of Senator Patty Kim. And I know we have the interest in Harrisburg. And because of our brothers from District 10, Bernie Hall and Todd Clary, I believe Steelton has interest by a bipartisan group of lawmakers in Washington, D.C. By both of our senators, Mr. Fetterman and Mr. McCormick, along with Representatives Perry, Muser, Dean, DeLuzzo, Boyle, and Scanlon, to name a few. My ask is that we don't just go away. Let's show everyone working class jobs and industry are taken seriously. Let's show America that making steel in Pennsylvania, the birthplace of American steel, is not only a red issue or a blue issue. It's a red, white, and blue issue, an American issue to save American industry. A total bipartisan effort, because making steel in America is a team effort and a matter of national security, and America's security doesn't have a side of the aisle. I would like to say thank you for coming, thank you for your attention, thank you for your time. Let's do this. God bless Steelton. And now, he wasn't in my mentions of support earlier because I have the great privilege of introducing a man with unwavering support for his and his family's hometown for generations. The son and grandson of steelworkers, Steel High grad, wrestling great, former Steelton mayor, and current Dauphin County commissioner. Everyone, a true blue and gray Steeltonian, my friend, Mr. George Hartley.
I want that guy blocking for me all the time. First, just a couple of housekeeping orders. I know we've got the rollers with us today. Let's give the rollers a round of applause. I know this town represents everything that I am. And what I see today is a show of support led by a delegation that, quite frankly, is unlike any that I've seen since I've been in a leadership role. Led by Senator Kim, and it is flanked by some of the best state representatives and friends and passionate public servants that I've seen in this area for quite some time. I also know that whether you're Republican, Democrat, whether you are far right or far left, this is an issue that is far more important than any of the bullshit that we see in our political environment. You hear me? The idea of coming together for steel is critically important, and there's no secret that this place has been open as the world's longest operating steel mill. The only thing that is harder than the head and the steel here are the people that work in this steel plant. You hear me? The idea that we have some of the best trained, equipped workers anywhere in the country is certainly going to be an attractive piece for anybody that's interested in this facility. And I will tell you, take it from me, sometimes the issues that are in front of us, they may look tragic. They may look perilous. They may look like, how did this happen? But one thing I know is that this town, when faced with these kinds of challenges and decisions, they come back even stronger. Stronger than steel. Stronger than, obviously, a town that has been hit by so many things over the course of the era and decades. Look, we've been a town that has, quite frankly, far less population than we should have had football championships. This town has produced steel that has helped to create the Golden Gate Bridge, the Toronto Sky Dome. It's built this country, and right now there's Navy contracts that are waiting for this steel mill to be able to continue to provide. I will tell you that my feeling and the ability for this steel facility to continue operations is about the commitment that we have to America. The idea of making an investment in something that is going to far outlast, again, my father and my grandfather, and I used to work in the splice bar mill, also in the pipe mill, flipping 100-pound tie plates. It made me recognize, stacking that stuff out of hot oil, I better pay attention in school. Because I know these are difficult jobs. But these difficult jobs continue to be in full operation over the last 159 years. My dad said if the people that actually studied how to make steel would listen to the people that did the job every day, they'd be turning a profit. This idea of this steel mill, the reason why it hasn't been closed is because it's never realized its full potential. It's been used as something that has been a write-off for other large companies, and they see this mini mill being positioned without significant legacy costs, with modern equipment that could be a major earner for any steel company that wants to make the investment here. And I will assure you that, as Tom Mehaffie, Representative Mehaffie said, I know Senator Kim and this delegation, along with me, will not stop until we figure out a way to ensure that we find the partners to be able to bring back steel here in Steelton. And I want to thank all of those over the course of time to be able to make this investment. And I also want to tell you, as Representative Mehaffie said, we are sorry for the challenges you face with your family. I know we have a setup time to be able to talk about how we support you during this time of crisis, how we can figure out a way to support your families, how we can figure out a way to provide some kind of training and transition. All those things are important, but I'm here today to say, as tragedy strikes, and sometimes there is triumph waiting right around the corner. And one thing I know, this group that's in front of me is positioned well for the triumph that's in Stilton's future. Thank you for all that are here, and let's get to work in finding a company to come back here to make the right investment in Stilton's plant. Let's put it back to work.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Hartwig. That concludes our event today. It is a session day, so any electeds need to scoot off, or childcare or daycare, please leave. We will answer a couple of questions. LaRue, if you can come up front to help answer some questions. We'll take a few before we leave. Quick note, just want to thank my team, Corey Tuma and Doug Brown, for helping me with this event today. We can also take individual. I know you probably want to talk to some steel workers. We're happy to do one-on-one as well. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.